Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the September 13th, 2021 meeting of the Housing Committee for Community Board 11. I am John Green. I'm the vice chair, the interim chair of the committee. I hope all of you had a great summer. And also to the new members of the committee, I'd like to say welcome. Until such time as we can meet in person, I look forward to meeting you again as well. The meeting is called to order at 6:35 p.m. And before we begin, the thing is there's a few ground rules. First of all, no one's allowed to speak until granted the floor. The thing is, all community board members, if you have a question about board business or work to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. All of you know where to, since we've been doing this for a year and a half, you know where the raise hand function is. So the thing is, I don't have to go through all that. The chat function should not be used for CB11 business or questions about what's on the agenda. I said all remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. When a member is given the floor to speak, I will identify you and you can unmute yourself so that you can speak. Please keep your questions and comments on point and brief to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand through Zoom and wait to be recognized. Marlene, you can take attendance if you're ready.
Sure, no problem.
Okay.
Stephanie Arroyo. John, Stephanie did say that she's going to be a few minutes late.
Okay.
Roger Flores.
Present.
John Green.
Here.
Robert Harvey. Jada Heredia.
Yes, hi, present.
Okay. Ivy Hume.
Present.
Alonzo Johnson.
Here.
Thanks. Robin Krinsky.
Present.
Beverly Papone.
Present. Shalom.
Thanks. Xavier Santiago.
Present.
Candy Vivens Vasquez. John, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and was posted online. If there are no objections, we will adopt the agenda as stated. Okay. I hear crickets, so basically that means there's no objections. Tonight's agenda will be adopted. Okay. One thing I must say. The thing is that I understand that no one received the minutes for June's meeting until this afternoon. That is purely my fault. I apologize, and I promise that will not happen in the future. But considering that, the thing is that if there are no objections, the minutes for the June 1st meeting will be adopted. No objections? No, the minutes are adopted. Okay. I have a couple of announcements. On September 1st, Governor Hochul signed a bill that allowed us to meet virtually, but also to extend the eviction moratorium until January 15th. So the thing is that if there's, that's a welcome thing for tenants. The landlords may not like it very much, but the thing is that I think it was probably, and this is my personal opinion about what I'm about to say, I think it was the right thing to do. Also, there is also HPD is having a public hearing on October 19th about amending, I'm reading this, excuse me, amending Chapter 41 of Title 28 of the Rules of the City of New York. That is in reference to rents for mandatory inclusionary housing. It is a virtual meeting, and I believe Marlene, is the link on the website?
I will put the link on the website. It's not a hyperlink, so it came in a PDF form, but I'll turn it into a hyperlink.
Okay, thank you so much. Are there any other announcements from any other members of the committee? See, there's not.
No, I don't see any hands raised from the committee or the public.
Are there any announcements from members of the public?
No hands raised, John.
Okay. Okay, so let me see. Okay, the emergency rental for informational updates for the emergency rental assistance program. The thing is that now basically I am not up to speed on I believe that it's the you have to prove that the COVID-19 pandemic was one of the major reasons you were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic for not being able to pay your rent. And I believe it's and also the thing is that actually the city of New York is actually under the gun, because since this is federal money, they're supposed to be spending this money within the next 17 days, because the federal fiscal year ends September 30th. So if there's anybody that a member of the committee or a member of the public knows that knows of someone that can take advantage of this program, please let them know and tell them to please apply, because this can be a real benefit to any tenants that are behind in their rent. Are there any other informational updates from the committee? Okay. Are there any informational updates from the public?
I don't see any hands raised, John.
Okay, so we can go on to basically the major to attack the agenda for tonight. Okay, the thing is that we have to discuss the draft statement for needs and budget requests. Also reviewed the public input survey results as well. Marlene, you have a presentation on this to explain?
Yes.
Okay.
Just let me bring up the presentation.
Okay. Whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
So this presentation is to speak about the public input survey. As many of you may remember, Carly designed a very thorough and intricate and comprehensive work plan before a CB11 session for the year ended. And there was a budget town hall where she described her work plan in detail. So ordinarily what would happen in September to October is you would get a grid from me as your staff liaison describing in detail the budget requests, the old ones, and then we would get another set of information from OMB with the new request, and you would give your feedback and say what you want to be put into the budget process, and that would lead into the statement of district needs. So that's just like, there's a slight change to that. So in Carly's work plan, you all have access to it, by the way, it's on your board member drive to her work plan. And in September, she specifically wanted to deal with the public input survey that was online. And also she tabled with Uptown Grand Central to get some physical feedback from people that stated what they wanted. And, it has not changed that affordable housing is still the pressing need in East Harlem. So Carly compiled this wonderful presentation that I'm going to describe what's in the presentation, just to say what came out of that public input survey. So it's like I said before, over the summer, Community Board 11 collected feedback for the budget process through the public input survey for community district needs. Tonight, I'm just going to describe the responses that was received. Okay, so the agenda seems long, but it's not long. I'll try to keep this brief because there was a lot of data collected. So I'll start with a very brief overview of the survey's role in the larger budget process and establish the goals for tonight's presentation and discussion. Then I'll get into the survey results relating to the work of the Housing Committee. Specifically, we'll look at the Housing, Economic Development, and Land Use Policy section, focusing solely on the housing portion, and the Healthcare and Human Services policy section, focusing on homelessness and services to support low-income tenants. For newer board members, the city's budget is an intricate process, and meeting attendees who might not be familiar with the city's budget process, community boards are given a broad range of responsibilities for advising the city about local budget needs and priorities. Those interested in learning more about CB11's role in the budget process are encouraged to attend our district needs and budget committee meetings. The next committee meeting, I'll also put this in the chat, will be this month on the 23rd at 6:30 p.m., also virtual. The public input survey is part of CB11's larger community engagement strategy for the annual statement of district needs and budget requests. This year, we collected survey responses, as I mentioned earlier, over a time period of 2 months and received a total of 135 responses, which is a great number because last year, I believe we only received in 2020, 77 responses. So, it's coming along. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to review the public input related to the work of this committee, of the Housing Committee. We also hope that committee members will engage with the input by providing feedback and making recommendations for additions, revisions, or even the removal of content for our statement of district needs. It's important to note that public input is only one contributing factor in the community board's needs assessment. We will also take our previous positions and the budget consultations with city agencies into account when drafting the final statement of district needs. Survey participants were asked to identify what they perceived as the top 3 pressing needs overall facing in East Harlem. Both affordable housing and homelessness were among the top 3 selected issues for most pressing needs. This has been the same for many years. We also wanted to acknowledge that many respondents highlighted their interconnectedness of most, if not all, issues facing East Harlem. This was especially noted in the policy areas we're covering today. Even though this first policy area comprises a mix of housing, economic development, and land use, the top pressing needs identified are all related to housing. Survey participants were asked to select the most important issue relating to housing, economic development, and land use. The top selected answer was affordable housing creation. The second most selected answer was affordable housing preservation. Condition of public housing came next, followed by housing support services for tenants and homeowners. Typically, the topic of affordable housing creation is reserved for the Land Use, Landmarks, and Planning Committee. However, at the root of the creation of affordable housing is the need for it. These are direct quotes from your neighbors highlighting the impact, need, and currently lack of affordable housing in East Harlem. In their selection of affordable housing creation as the most pressing issue, respondents emphasize the importance of affordable housing. First and foremost, housing is a basic human need and a huge social determinant for an individual's health and well-being. Additionally, affordable housing prevents displacement and encourages neighborhood preservation, which are both desired outcomes identified in the responses we received. More specifically, residents expressed the need for community preference to achieve neighborhood preservation. We'll get into more of this later, but affordable housing is also a solution to homelessness and allows individuals and families to achieve financial success and positively contribute to the economy. Respondents also identified the shortcomings of affordable housing as it currently exists. Current affordable housing units are not affordable enough for many East Harlem residents. And many of the units offered are studios and one-bedroom units and aren't suitable for families. Often when we speak about affordable housing, we're specifically referring to new rental units created through MIH or another public funding mechanism. However, respondents also would like to see more opportunities for affordable home ownership in East Harlem. Finally, respondents emphasize the importance of establishing community benefit agreements with developers when they build in East Harlem. There was a significant amount of hesitance about new development in East Harlem, even for the purpose of creating affordable housing. Rather, many would prefer to prioritize the preservation of affordable housing over the addition of new units. The housing conditions and need for better maintenance was among a top concern. Participants also highlighted the number of vacant and abandoned buildings in East Harlem, specifically along 3rd Avenue, that can better be utilized as affordable housing. Finally, many respondents made the connection between affordable housing preservation and the need investment in NYCHA. Many of East Harlem's affordable units are in fact public housing. Investing in NYCHA would go a long way in preserving our neighborhood's affordable stock. On that note, conditions of public housing was another top concern among residents. It's common knowledge that most NYCHA buildings are in disrepair. Respondents reported a range of need repairs to elevators, intercoms, door locks, roofs, etc. Many of our residents are NYCHA residents and are living in unhealthy and unsafe conditions. Respondents reported pests, mold, and leaks in their units. Finally, respondents reported widespread distrust and confusion about NYCHA's plans, such as RAD and Blueprint for Change, due to lack of clear communications. This confusion has resulted in concern about the future of public housing and a fear of displacement. We also saw responses about the need for tenant support services in light of COVID-19 and the conclusion of the eviction moratorium. We now know that it's been extended, as John mentioned earlier in the informational updates. The services that are offered by HPD and NYCHA need increased or more effective outreach to ensure that they're reaching those who need them. Moreover, many of the services offered by the city relating to affordable housing, rent assistance, have an income threshold and therefore cannot be accessed by residents who could really benefit from those services. Before I move on, I know this is a little lengthy. I appreciate your patience. Before we move on to the next policy section, I'm going to briefly pause and ask for feedback from the committee about these results. Specifically, the questions that you see on the screen: do you agree that affordable housing creation is the most important issue related to housing? Should the executive committee consider selecting a different issue to prioritize? Did we cover anything, or is there something you think you should be included in our final community needs assessment? So I'll pause right there.
Any comments?
There's a hand. John, Raja raised his hand. You can go ahead and recognize.
Okay, Roger, you have the floor, sir.
All right, the main thing that I would put there is not necessarily creation, because the thing that's affecting most of the residents of East Harlem right now is affordable housing preservation and safety, especially in NYCHA, where 83% of NYCHA apartments have a severe health hazard. So I think for the community that's living in East Harlem right now, it's affordable housing preservation and safety.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I raised my hand, John. I would just second what Raja said. I think preservation is probably the most important issue. And I always think back to the presentation that you gave about a year ago, Raja, where we looked at the health hazards in the buildings, I can think across the street from Mount Sinai, and the mold conditions, and seeing the photos and understanding the respiratory effects, and that, you know, this is a serious health emergency that needs to be dealt with.
Thank you, Ivy. Xavier?
Hi, thank you, everyone, and thank you, Marlene, John. The one of the things, in having attended the budget town hall, and something we've struggled with, is putting the rungs back in the ladder. So I think a combination of preservation and creating affordable housing that would really meet the economic bands that we've lost over the past couple decades. I think that's something that's come into play, and why those requests have been elevated. So I think, yes, preservation is absolutely tantamount to our success, but I think also too, we should look at the creation of more. I know that that falls under land use. However, I think working with our partners at the land use committee to find those, a return to those economic bands would be helpful. But we are losing affordable housing throughout the community. So we'll concur, but I think we shouldn't take our eyes off the ball in the sense of preserving and creating more affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Xavier. Any other comments?
Can I be heard?
That's Beverly, John.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. I wasn't sure. I'm looking for an icon on my computer that says raise hand, but for somehow I don't see it, so I just unmute it. I think also we should consider that HPD owns a lot of buildings that they're not utilizing for affordable housing or home ownership programs. And I think that should be something that we should really push HPD to make available these units for housing, for low income, or affordable housing. And in addition to the work that they do with NYCHA. Outside of NYCHA, HPD has a lot of properties, that's not utilized. They have programs where they have tenants who supposed to be working towards home ownership, but their hands are tied to rent out the vacant apartments to people of low income, or, make it affordable to people who needs it, so people of higher incomes can get these apartments. So I think that needs to be addressed also regarding the home ownership and home affordability and community living. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I don't see any raised hands.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, with that, Marlene, you can continue whenever you're ready to.
Okay, just to add, you all are on the same mindset as the residents that actually participated in this survey. They, like I said earlier, they did choose to preserve instead of develop new dwellings for people, like you said, Raja, and what I be back. Moving right along. I'm trying not to speed read. The healthcare and human services policy area mostly relates to the work of our Human Services Committee. However, this section also covers services for the homeless through the Department of Homeless Services, DHS, and services for low-income New Yorkers through HRA, which is the Human Resources Administration for the city. I apologize, there's a train passing in the background, you can hear that. The top selected issues related to the Human Services Committee, but the second two issues selected were services to reduce or prevent homeless and supportive housing. I'm just gonna let you guys see that a little longer. Let me know if you have any questions. Huh? We mentioned earlier the importance of housing. The lack of housing or homelessness has a significant negative impact on the physical, mental, social, financial well-being of individuals and families. Respondents identified a number of solutions and services to prevent homelessness, including supportive housing, affordable housing, which we covered in the earlier section, rent assistance programs, and legal protections against eviction. There was also an express need for legal assistance and advocacy for tenants on behalf of the city to help ensure the proper maintenance of buildings and compliance of health codes. Finally, many residents are still harassed by their landlords despite laws prohibiting tenant harassment. Proactive legal assistance can help minimize harassment and prevent evictions. So one more time, just touching briefly on the human services piece that mainly deals with DHS because that's housing. I'm just going to open up the floor again for committee members if they would like to comment. If you had feedback or suggestions about the public input relating to services for homelessness and low-income New Yorkers, I invite you to raise your hands again.
Any comments?
Alonso?
Yes, I apologize. This is actually my first committee meeting, so thank you for allowing me to participate.
Welcome.
Thanks. Was there any, for as far as, I know we kind of just glossed over the health and human services portion of the presentation, but was there any acknowledgement of the higher rates of addicts hanging out on the streets and the increased levels of those people as far as concerned with the need for homelessness housing and clinics?
Right. So your question is on target, but in the wrong committee. Okay. So, right, this specific committee deals with the housing in terms of preservation, right? So existing buildings, existing units, and how do we continue to preserve that? And most importantly, as you saw in the earlier slides, the creation and maintenance of affordable housing units. So what you're asking for would be in the Human Services Committee, where Human Services and Housing overlaps is with DHS, right? So the Department of Homeless Services, they give dwelling, shelter, and also provide services for what you just mentioned, right? So people that misuse substances, people that may have behavioral health issues, like the catch-all, right? So mental health issues, and also issues that just deal with, so that person may be diagnosed or undiagnosed clinically by a service provider that may be in East Harlem. So the Human Services Committee does touch on what you just said, the oversaturation of services in this district, a ton.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Okay.
so I invite you to attend that committee meeting. They're actually meeting next Monday, the 20th at 6 p.m. And that those slides will cover what you just requested. This
Yes,
one
ma'am.
will specifically speak to the Department of Home Services on the housing side.
Understood. All right. Thank you.
No problem. Who else?
Any other comments?
I don't see any hands raised, John.
Okay, so, okay, Marlene, continue. If there's any other section of this.
Okay, thank you. So we've come to the conclusion of the presentation. I hope, I said I was going to be brief. I think that was a fib on my part. After each committee reviews the public input, the District Needs and Budget Committee will hold a public hearing at their next committee meeting. The Executive Committee will finalize the most pressing needs for each policy area, and the staff will draft the Statement of District Needs. Next month in October, we'll be discussing budget requests. As I mentioned earlier when I opened up this presentation, Carly just drafted a new work plan that just makes this budget process a little bit more comprehensible. To accompany our needs, and at the October full board meeting, the Housing Committee, along with the board, will vote on the final statement of district needs and requests. Any questions or comments? As I mentioned earlier, Carly is the budget guru on the staff, along with our district manager, Angel Muscane, and her work plan became her brainchild. She wants to see a comprehensible system of how information is disseminated and how the statement of district needs goes to OMB. So her email was on the previous slide. So here's Carly's email. So if you read the bottom, any questions, comments, or concerns about the data collected on CB11M budget process can be directed to Carly Wine. As I mentioned, she is the assistant district manager, and her email is right here. If anyone from the public would like to take it down, I'm sure the existing committee members, those committee members that are new, please feel free to write down Carly's name and email address if you don't have it already. You should have it because she gave you your committee assignment, so you should have an email. But if you don't, please feel free to write it down. John, I see your hand is raised.
Yes, I just want.
You're chairing the committee, John.
Well, I just want to remind people that we're going to go through our list of district needs for housing and submit it. But the thing is, we're actually going to have to advocate for our request twice, because as you all know, there's going to be a new mayor starting in January. There'll be, I think, possibly about 30 new members of the city council. There'll be a new borough president, I think, in all 5 boroughs. So the thing is that all these people are going to have their own staff. So that means that we're going to have to advocate for it twice, with the people who are there now and for the people who will take their places next year. So the thing is that, so it's this year's list of budget needs are very important, because the thing is that we don't know what the new agenda is going to be for the new administration, what their marching orders are going to be, or what. So the thing is that so we may have to really press these agencies for the request that we make. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none.
I'll just stop sharing this, John, so I can bring them.
Okay. 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 Thank you, Marlene, for the presentation. I think this is like I always say to you and Carla, you all you two and Angel do great work in the office. Okay. Marlene, I don't have the agenda in front of me.
It's okay. You see the screen? Yeah, so the next one is just, yeah.
Okay, that's it?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, okay.
The meeting was much heavy. Well, input service.
Okay. Is there any old business that needs to be discussed? I hear crickets. Okay. Seeing no one has raised their hand,
I don't see any hands raised either from the committee or the public.
okay. Again, so is there any new business? More crickets. Okay. Okay, seeing no hands being raised. Okay. Well,
John, I'm sorry, this is where I take I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is where I take the roll again.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. Stephanie Arroyo.
Here.
Thanks. Roger Flores.
Here.
John Green.
Here.
Robert Harvey. Jada Heredia.
Present.
Ivy Hume. Ivy Hume. Alonzo Johnson.
Here.
Thank you. Robin Prinsky.
Present.
Beverly Pabon.
Present.
Xavier Santiago.
Present.
And Candy Vives Vasquez.
Hi, Marlene. It's Ivy. I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, okay, thank you, Ivy.
Xavier, you have your hand raised?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, John, to everyone. It was lovely to have us convene, although virtual, as we carry on the good work for the community. And I just wanted to welcome our new members and some of our existing members who are new to the committee. Look forward to doing the work and always reach out. Here's a resource. So thank you, John, Marlene, everyone. Brilliant job. Let's just keep on keeping on, as they say.
And again, as I said at the beginning of the meeting, welcome to the new members of the committee. I see that Jada Heredia is a new member of the committee. She was on the Youth and Education Committee with me as well. Welcome, and all the new members. And like I said before, hopefully when all this is over, we can meet in person. Okay, Marlene, if there's not anything else, by the power vested in me by Committee Board 11, I announced the meeting adjourned at 7:14 p.m. Good night, everybody. Have a good evening. and see you next.
Shalom.
And,
Good
and
night.
also, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Night all, be well, stay safe.
Night.
You too.
Amen. Yes.